Good evening, everybody. You all know me as Mary Bingham, the 9 times great-granddaughter of Sarah Wilds, and of course I do the videos for this YouTube channel. And I would like to welcome you to my first video in my new series on the Colonial Witch Trial Misconceptions. The first video will briefly describe the Puritan belief in folk traditions, herbal remedies, and birthing, and how those practices differed from their belief of witchcraft. When the colonists set sail from England during the Great Migration of the 1630s, they brought with them not only their superstitions, but their use of folk traditions and practices they used to calm their fears and, as they believed, to keep them safe. Though ministers warned against them because the ministers believed these practices might invite evil into their homes, the Puritans were able to manipulate their environments so that the practice was not so blatant. For example, some homes adorned horseshoes on their doorways to keep away evil spirits, while others kept those spirits away by placing a shoe in a wall. People also carved daisy wheels on their walls and even on gravestones for protection. And there were some who were fortune tellers, Samuel Wardwell being one. Unfortunately, Samuel asked his brother-in-law, Constable John Ballard, if Joseph Ballard thought he was a witch due to his fortune-telling, and the fact that Joseph's wife became quite sick. Though Samuel's death in 1692 was certainly not his own fault, one might wonder if he inadvertently planted the seed of suspicion. All women grew herbs in their kitchen gardens to sustain their families and treat sick family members. For example, according to the book Currents of Malice, authored by Percy Macmillan, on page 36 to be exact, Mary Esty treated headaches with chamomile, or a family member who had trouble with their eyesight with fennel flower. If the area was experiencing a contagious illness, Mary would have given stricken family members ale infused with goat rue. If someone had a fever, Mary's herb of choice was feather fellwell, I think is how you say that. There is no evidence that people used herbs to harm others back in those days. Most, if not all women, had experience in childbirthing, but not all women were midwives. Women would gather for this event to offer support and comfort to the mother and aid the midwife. Midwives were not witches, as the Puritans believed witches to be. So, what was the Puritan view on witchcraft? The Puritans believed that two worlds existed, and both of those worlds were very real to them. The visible world and the invisible world. However, these worlds did not coexist side by side. Instead, these two worlds were intertwined in the Puritans' daily existence. As Professor John Demo stated in a 2015 interview for the Yale News, everyone had things to say and stories to tell about witchcraft. It was a part of everyday life, no more, no less. What was the invisible world and how did it manifest in the visible world? Well, the Puritans believed that wherever God and goodness prevailed, so did Satan and evil. One could not be present without the other. Satan kind of cajoled or wanted people to sign their souls over to him by promising them a more luxurious life. In the case of Abigail Hobbs, who was falsely convicted and also who falsely confessed to witchcraft, said Satan promised her a silk mantle with a top knot and hood. Of course, this conversation with Satan happened in the invisible world. People who were accused of witchcraft were believed to have a power to send their specter or image to manipulate nature, causing harm to another person, their animals, or their crops. For example, William Brown of Salisbury deposed in 1692 that his wife, Elizabeth, was traveling to the mill when suddenly Susanna Martin's image appeared. And just as quickly, Susanna's image disappeared. This stayed with Elizabeth as she believed that Susanna's familiars, in this case birds, who would possibly suckle the accused witch to gain powers, and in this case, the accused witch in quotations, was Susanna Martin. So these birds, supposedly in the invisible world, appeared to Elizabeth so close that their wings sharply pierced her stomach, causing Elizabeth much discomfort. No doubt, something happened to cause pain in Elizabeth's stomach. Yet again, the birds were part of the invisible world. In August of 1692, the magistrates reached out to area ministers seeking advice regarding the use of spectral evidence as part of the temporary court setup known as the Court of Oyer and Terminer. Reverend Cotton Mather, who is believed to have drafted this letter, advised that spectral evidence was sufficient to indict a person, but not enough to convict. The ministers concluded the devil could take the shape and manipulate himself into an image of any person without that person knowing. Once spectral evidence was discontinued, the executions eventually stopped, and the Court of Oyer and Terminer was dismantled. However, witchcraft cases were still being tried under the new court well into 1693. So hopefully, this dispels the belief that the peaceful Wiccan religion and other pagan religions and traditions stem from the Puritan view of witchcraft. They don't. Since, according to the Puritans, witches only existed in the invisible world, there were no witches in 1692 or in all of the 1600s in Essex County. Everyone accused was wrongfully accused, and even those who confessed were still wrongfully accused. No one in 1692 was a witch. So please like and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for the second video on the Colonial Witch Trial Misconceptions to be uploaded next Friday evening, October 7th, 2022. Thank you very much.